Welcome back. Episode 2 of Next on the Mic.
Amazing.
is happening. And I guess next on the mic is the Bindr / ColdStart team.
Yeah.
Can you introduce yourselves?
Well, I'm Mary. I'm the CEO of Bindr and the COO of ColdStart. We're both co-founders into both companies, and it's been an amazing ride.
Yep. And I'm Brandon. I'm the CEO of ColdStart and the CTO of Bindr, and also a co-founder of both companies.
While we're getting started, could you give me a little bit of background on Bindr, since it's kind of first in the time frame, and what brought you guys to that, and what your background is? I looked a little bit on your LinkedIn. You guys seem to have been working together for a while now, over different time periods.
So me and Brandon have known each other for about 6 years.
Yeah.
We were really just best friends and have a lot of trust and a lot of, relationship building. But within the first year of knowing each other, we started working together. He helped me, encouraged me to go to college when I really wanted to and wasn't sure about it. And I started doing sales and some project management for his software company, which is Original Pixel.
It was Specific Pixel.
It was Specific
Changed
Pixel
to Original
then.
Pixel.
Yeah. But it's Original Pixel now. And that's what we were doing for a little while. And we were having meetings, hanging out, seeing each other. And the one day I came over just pissed, raging mad, because I got banned from another dating app. I was having trouble. We were both LGBTQ and super into the community. And I was just mad that for the lack of options for bisexual dating and fluid dating. And Brandon said, I have this idea and a name of Bindr. I don't have any time to do it until now. So what do you think? You want to start it? And I'm like, yeah. So it was kind of born out of Brandon having this amazing idea for the name and my frustration for the lack of it. So about 2.5 years ago, we started working on Bindr. Had the first version up in 2 weeks. It was janky and broken, and the messaging didn't work, and we had 300 people sign up the first week. Wow. And Brandon has been working on companies since straight out of high school. He
0 to 300 in a week.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
It really took off on its own out of nowhere. Then within the first 6 months, we had 40,000 users. And I won my first pitch competition through Penn State University. It was just a student one that I saw an email for saying, hey, if you're a student with a startup, you could win $30,000 for InQ. And I had no idea the resources that colleges had, for Carnegie Mellon, Pitt, all of these. I didn't know that they had that. And I saw this one. I did the first pitch competition, and first one I ever did won first place for $15,000. And then we had some money to play around with. Then I got into another accelerator, got another $15,000 equity free. And that's kind of where our ColdStart story starts. Since then, I've won multiple pitch competitions with the help of Brandon and our awesome team for Bindr, totaling over $100,000 equity free. Yeah. And got into Innovation Works Alpha Lab program, which was amazing, which helped us move to Pittsburgh. But that very first accelerator that I got into through Penn State, called Summer Founders Program,
was really good.
It was awesome, but we had one of the directors that run it tell us, you have 15,000 users. Which is where we were in March of that year, I think, right?
Yeah.
And that's great. But it's nothing. You're never going to get funding. You're never.
That's not what she said. She said it's not shit.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
15,000 users in what amount of time?
It was so
from August to March.
Yeah. So our first year was 40,000. I think you said in the first few months it was 40. First year was 40,000 users.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a little context: we were at about 15,000 users in June of that first year.
Yeah.
And June, July is when she sat us down and she's like, guys, you're never going to be anybody. You need 30, 40,000 users.
At least, yeah.
So
interesting.
I had this idea because I built a few other companies, but I never had one that had enough traction to justify doing it. So I was like, well, what if I made a bunch of pages? And I was looking at competitors to see if they were doing this too. does this work? And then I saw Match Group doing it. I saw like other like big players doing this, and I was like, oh well, I'm not doing these all by hand. That's going to take too much time. So we built up some algorithms, built up some technology, we dabbled with AI a little bit. And like, well, okay, a weekend later, got it working, and not working as well as it does now, but they're working. And then we got to those 40,000 users. By the time we finished that program, that 30,000 user mark we had hit, which was the one that she was like, hey, you need to get to this, and I don't see how you're going to do it. She's like, you're not going to be VC fundable. You're not going to be any of these things unless you get to a point where it's interesting. Yeah. Now we're on our way to 1 million users. That's our target right now.
Yeah. And so that like weekend that he spent building what will eventually turn into ColdStart, what was just our way on Bindr of trying to get more users. I remember like 4 a.m. Brandon blowing up my phone, freaking out, saying, I got it, I figured it out. I had no idea what he's talking about. I'm like sleeping. He's like, I'm a genius. And I've never heard him say that. Everybody else always calls him a genius. He's never self-proclaimed, but he's like, I did it. This is it. I still
it works.
Yeah. He's like, this is going to be it. And I had I'm like, cool. Yep. I've heard it. You got it. I didn't know what he was talking about. And then you start to see our analytics on Google straight up. Yeah. And, we just kept getting more and more users. We went from, 200 users a day, which is amazing for a new app, to thousands. So
and then that's ColdStart. Say I'm, young startup making a CRM, and I'm like, I don't know how to get the message out, like the word out, right? Like I'm a little bit, I don't know, like exactly, I have some rough idea of who my target audience is and rough ideas of like what those user profiles look like, but still figuring it out, still trying to find product market fit. Is that where ColdStart comes in?
Yep. So let's say you have your idea of your customer is. So how do you figure out what your customer is going to be?
Yeah.
A/B testing.
Yeah.
So ColdStart in a way does that times 1 million.
Wow.
So like think of like a bunch of A/B tests going out there of like, is this page going to get audience analytics? Is this going to actually work? And then being able to quantify that individually to work on rankings for that. So let's say you have an idea. Let's say we have like 6 categories you want to go after. In Bindr's case, it was like LGBTQ dating, lesbian dating, gay dating. And then we wanted to target different regions and demographics to see where we could get users from. Well, we went and did that, made about 100,000 pages, and then we got analytics on each one. Then we found trends where our predictions are wrong and right in a lot of ways. So, like, imagine as like an A/B test times 1 million. Like that's the idea behind ColdStart, and
that influences your messaging of how you do
exactly
like your main page.
And what we found is, as we build up more data and analytics around companies, we can like instantly get information out to customers looking for products. So the tool started as an SEO tool, but we are focused on mass content distribution. So if it's across any kind of platform, so not just on Google, but like think Reddit, think Quora, think Medium, trying to get into Facebook groups is a little harder. You got to get invited to them. But if somebody's like, hey, I'm looking for this, and it happens to be your service, we can have content right to them saying, so they're not waiting for an ad. They're not waiting to do the Google search. We're like, no, here's your answer right here. And this is our product that we work with.
We've signed on quite a few customers for ColdStart already. And so far, it's been amazing. It's getting better and better each implementation that we do. And we're seeing results and rankings for these startups and companies within 12 hours sometimes, where they're not ranking for any terms. And then we put our tool on, and suddenly their traffic is coming in really quick. It's at a fraction of a cost that typical SEO companies are charging for just strategies, not actually implementation and putting stuff into place. So that's really where we've been able to take control of this a bit and really show really good value while also driving our revenue quicker than ever. We beat Bindr's revenue for ColdStart in the first week.
The first week. First week of October.
And I was like, oh, like this is bittersweet. You know what I mean? But it's amazing. And I wouldn't call it a pivot because we're still doing Bindr. You can still sign up. You can use it. We're working on it and updating it. all the time. But as far as like what we're focused on as founders and fundraising and all that, I suppose it is a pivot because we are more focused on ColdStart and growing as a company right now.
Binder's great though. I mean,
Binder's running itself to a degree.
So we get compared to Slack a lot, and I actually don't know what the original company Slack started from, but we hear that comparison.
It was a gaming company,
nonstop.
Yeah. And then they made Slack to talk to each other about the gaming company, right?
And they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But we're not spending a ton of money to keep Binder going. So like we have all these users signing up. It's getting like people even on the street are starting to know what the brand is. So it's always what we want it to be. I mean, our product market fit for Binder was never 1 million users. It was never 100,000 users or 10,000 or 1,000. It's when a comedian makes a joke about it the same way they did about Grindr, because it's about social acceptance for the LGBTQ community and realizing that there's more than just gay, lesbian. Like there's these things that are in between. And these in between things should be normalized in society. Clearly we have major issues with that right now. And Binder could be a big part of that. And funny enough, I mean, we've been in the Wall Street Journal, we've been on Mashable, and that's all because of Binder. I mean, ColdStart's not going to have that household name recognition, but ColdStart is the company that can get you that household recognition for the right idea.
We got to do TechCrunch Disrupt this year, in 2024, with Binder as a Battlefield 200 company, which was amazing. It's what we were trying to do.
We were like one of the first dating apps in a really long time. It was... We had like even investors come and be like, why are you guys here? This doesn't normally happen. And I think it was just because we were doing stuff differently with Binder, and then also our strategy of like moving to a B2B SaaS AI company.
It's just too interesting.
I mean, that's the reason why I was like, hey, guys, come on a podcast. This is so interesting. I mean, both of this are in the 0 to 1 phase. So outside of calling up you guys and being like, hey, like, I need help with this, like, 0 to 10 phase or whatever because we need SEO help or a support finding product market fit. One other question I wanted to ask you is, especially for a dating app, especially for a marketplace, finding those initial users are so important, making sure those initial users are in like a similar geographic location. Like how did you guys think about that?
Graphic locations are what we do, honestly.
If you search Pittsburgh LGBTQ dating app, you'll find one of our pages, and you can do the same thing in Santa Monica. You can do the same thing in New York.
Type bisexual dating and then a state, or pansexual dating in any state. Binder's going to be the first certain many like results,
and it helps out our like our key ones too. So like the Binder main domain, you'll see that'll actually generate more traffic in itself, because we just beat out Grindr for like free LGBTQ dating websites and things like that. So
it's huge,
giant companies.
They don't have ColdStart.
They don't have they don't have
ColdStart.
And it's funny because like I think every competitor except for Grindr at this point has reached out for the tech. And then that's where the business really started to take off, was because like we realized this was bigger than just our own app. This was something we could help other companies with. So even with outside of the startup, there's this whole level of like we have tons of enterprise customers that are needing this, because the individual ranking of what we're doing hasn't been done this way in this kind of quantity, and they just haven't been able to solve this problem. And because of that, and then the other content distribution strategies we have with it, it just like kind of all fits, and it solves a big problem for companies, which is getting your brand out there. Like, I don't care how big you are, you need that.
I mean, how
recognition.
big helps small. Like it's
why
that's
Pepsi,
it.
It's why Pepsi and Coke pay so much for marketing nowadays. Everybody knows who they are. But I wouldn't be surprised with some of the people that have reached out. We have not spoken to Pepsi or Coke. But I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a representative from one of them that are like, hey, we want the market edge over that competitor. And like that's where we find like these large companies are like, yeah, we want to be everywhere.
The end goal with this really is, if a customer is on ColdStart, if a business is one of our customers, they need to be the top result for everything. They need to be the most talked about, the most seen brand in that specific category. So we want it to be where we control who's really going to make it, and we have the tools already set up to do that, and we're just adding more to it.
And I think that's like where I think most companies are like, we're an SEO company, and at first I think we thought that, but it never sat well with us because like we didn't make this specifically for SEO.
Yeah.
And we've never had a goal of SEO results only. We've had a goal of making sure the best content is fit to the best product and the best customer in every way possible. So like Bindr's goal is not to be the best free dating app in the world. No. Because
there's a
that's
lot.
Not even because there's a lot. It's just that's not the market Bindr's in. Bindr's a niche dating app. If Bindr was in that market, that would be our goal. Like we would be going after every major player there. But the truth is, we want to make sure it's relevant and at least in the conversation with everybody that's there. Because like dating apps are another thing where I think everybody in the industry knows. Most people that are on a dating app will be on 3.
Yeah.
Like 3 is the number. You want to be one of those 3. So you're not actually trying to compete for. Like first is always what you go for, but you're not even competing for that. You want to be in the conversation. That's what you're always competing against.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so all right, let's start off with this. Why Pittsburgh? Why here? Why randomly in this like middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania?
We're from Pennsylvania. Yeah. I mean, in Pittsburgh, went to Philly. There's nothing wrong with Philly. Yeah. Like I've started companies in Philadelphia. I have customers in Philly. I love Philly, but at least in the VC space, I think who's like funding companies, Pittsburgh's actually more open. Yeah. They're more willing to take risks.
And Pittsburgh believed in Bindr when other people were hesitant. Yeah. They weren't scared by the fact that we were saying LGBTQ, bisexual, fluid, no labels. It didn't scare them away.
Yeah. It saw traction.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh accepted us as queer founders for who we are and believed in us as founders and were the first ones to really write us a big check and give us a chance.
Alpha Lab.
Yep.
They then like we were able to really move quick with them and even when it came to ColdStart. So I remember like going in, I was like, "Hey guys," I was like nervous.
We think we might have something.
We might have something. And then their team like they went in and were like, holy crap, guys. Like,
you do have nobody's.
No, they were like, somebody else has to be doing this.
So Micah and Sarah are sitting there like mind blown, Googling, researching, looking for another company doing the same thing and weren't able to find it.
Yeah, and now we're beating out, so like the fall batch Y Combinator companies, like we're beating them out. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Because they're investing into AI generated SEO companies. Okay. So they've invested into a couple of them. And as far as I can see, you know how they interchange portfolio companies, but I don't think they have any outside customers based on the research that we've done. And then we've even found other services selling 1,200 pages for $9,000 a month. Okay. Reddit posting for another 9,000. So in our, like we're crushing them. Because if somebody's paying us that much,
anywhere near there,
we're making 1 million pages for them. Yeah. So like, it's just, and they don't have the auto ranking. They haven't even figured out the distribution channel, and that's crazy. I can only share so much of our secret sauce. Yeah. But in terms of that, like that's why we are able to beat the big players.
We'll come back in 5 years, and then we'll be like, oh yeah, remember? And this is exactly how we beat everyone.
I actually believe because of technology like ColdStart, it's 2 things. One, moats do not exist anymore. Yeah. I don't care if you're a consumer. I don't care if you are a $1 billion company. That isn't going to protect you in the new age of tech and AI. I also strongly believe that the best tech will always win. So what that means is, like, if somebody comes in and they can think of something differently and they have the experience to do it, I mean, they're going to take out major companies that have been there. I mean, we've taken down companies that have been around for 20 years. Yeah. And they've offered to acquire us. They've not going to name any names. And they've also want to become customers. So these companies have been around doing it these old ways. And it just goes in to say, if you want to really disrupt something, like, you have to be brave. Yeah. Because that barrier of entry, I think most would say no to. But it has taught me one thing. I don't care how big of a company you are. Your moat is not there. I don't think moats exist anymore in the AI space, which is, I think, interesting.
Interesting.
I think the only moat that you have, which is we dabble a little in, is being able to fuel the content that AI does or that they perceive. So, let's say ChatGPT is learning everything from the web.
Data.
If you have a content distribution platform, then you have control over that. And I think that's a really interesting perspective that we have of like, hey, we can be at the forefront of what this new technology is doing, and we can also put products there for it.
Okay. Hot take.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's because my background's more like, I know I've dabbled a little bit in gov tech, supply chain, like all these very dinosaur-y industries where it's maybe you can be 10x better, 5x better, 3x better, but it's just who knows who.
Yeah.
Go to market.
Well, I was gonna say I think it's your team as well.
Yeah.
I think the people behind it matter a lot, and having the right people on your team and working hard for whatever it is that your company is a big part of whether you're going to be successful or not.
Yeah.
And
seems like you guys have a killer team.
Nothing new, but yeah.
I've hired everyone that's smarter than me in every area that they're able to be in. Even as some of like our developers that have recently come on, I mean, they came to me and like talked about certain possibilities and even protocols. And I have no doubt with what we're doing, it's going to bring new laws into what is allowed and not allowed to do. Because the tools that we've created are super powerful. But it is interesting to me, some of the things that I know about it, which I wish I could disclose more as a podcast.
You're good, yeah.
But it has occurred to all of us that, like, yeah, we are real disruptors because we are worried about certain things that a year ago were not possible. Wow. And because of that, there's going to be new laws that are created for technology like this. And I think in AI in general, it's just too much. Content distribution will win. And because of that, everything is going to be different. And in terms of even how you find products.
I also think this is really interesting because you guys never set out to be an AI company. It was just you just solved an internal problem, and they were like, wait, this solved it too well. Like,
it solved it too well.
Yeah,
definitely.
More and more people kept asking us, how are you getting users? How are you growing this quick? This seems impossible. Yeah. We were actually showing proof that we had this many users and updating the numbers continuously. When we had a dating app founder from the Bay Area fly to New York to meet me and tell me, I have an app up, it's good, I can't get people on it. He said, I'm going to college campuses and handing out $5 gift cards to get...
Classic, old-fashioned way.
Yeah, to get users on, but it's not sustainable. And they're not growing on each other, they're not compounding. Like, what's your secret? Yeah. And then they offer to pay me for it. And same thing, over and over, having more and more people offering to pay, like, how much can I give you to do this for ours, is when we kind of realized we should be selling this. We should be selling this to other people.
That founder came out to a conference we were speaking at about this time last year and flew out. And then I'm like looking at Mary, I'm like,
he's like, make sure you give him 5 minutes. He flew from San Francisco to meet you.
Yeah, I was like, you need to like talk to her. First of all, I was like, this is like, and also I was like, this is a big company.
And I was a bit starstruck just being at
in the room,
the Global Dating Insights like conference, and everyone kept calling me Rookie of the Year and kept saying, they're all in the dating space 10 plus years. Big names, like we're talking
all the biggies.
I met
all the big ones you can think of.
I met the CEO of Her. I met like the people behind Christian Mingle. I met all these people from all the big names that everybody knows in this room all together. And I got to go up on stage and talk with Field, one of their executives, and everybody. Like after my speech and talking, more and more people. Like right after my speech, everybody was bombarding me with questions to the point where I was like feeling a little overwhelmed, honestly. And I was just there feeling like I was there to learn. And I'm like, no, I'm here really representing my company that is big and growing and a real competitor. And the way everybody was treating us, we learned really quickly that this is bigger than we even ever imagined. Yeah. And that was March of last year of 2024. And we were, it was amazing.
Yeah, something moving this fast, it's scary. I mean, Bindr was even scary at a time. Bindr feels a lot less scary now.
Now it feels much more manageable. But that being in that room full of everyone and them asking me advice.
Bindr was normal big. This is
This is
rocket ship.
Yeah.
This is crazy big.
Yes.
Yeah. Binder was like, Binder was like, okay, we had a pathway to building $1 billion market and having $1 billion app. ColdStart is
10
like
billion. If that.
potentially beyond.
Yeah.
But it all depends where you take the product to. I mean, if it sits where it's at now, I mean, yeah, it's probably $1 billion business. But with what we're working on and where we're taking it to, and the reason why it's so important to hire better people, like I made sure that like the CTO that we're like bringing on, he's better than me than a CTO. Like I made sure that I made sure that there were people thinking of things and solving harder problems than I could even come up with. Because if you're only as good as your team, and especially when it scales like so big, you have to have like
building
so many
the infrastructure
different opinions,
now
and you got to
to
make
be
sure
able
you can
to
trust
handle
them.
the
So like
volume.
a lot of the people that we brought on too is like I've worked with them, I've known them for 5+ years. I mean, these are people that I trust, and also people that have even invested into our company. So it's just crazy. It's just everything's crazy about this. But I know like with our team, like with what we have right now and the traction we've seen, I mean, we have a 250 customer wait list at the moment. Like, that's why we had to hire so quick. It's like, we want to get this service out to everybody that we can. But I mean, it was limited when you had a handful of people working on this. So now you have to have a bigger handful.
And
We
support.
We just brought on 5. We just brought on 5 salespeople.
Yeah, then that's just sales. So like I said, our team's at 16 people right now. And that's since October, really. I mean, we had a few that were already on helping us, but like it's growing really quick. And like, that's why we're raising. Like, you're like, why do you raise a company when saying, well, it's the
Just
igniter?
now you literally, it's rocket. I always say it's like VC's not Starfield, it's rocket fuel. I think this is a rocket. This is a rocket. So speaking on fundraising, like 100K in Pittsburgh, grant competition. So it's probably 200K total, like in
about 250.
Yeah, we got 250 for Binder. And some of those, about 42,000 of that was angel investment that we got from Startup Fest. And those are all people that are interested in both companies. So most of it's Binder, but those are 6 amazing, they're our investors, they're our advisors, and they came on to both companies.
And for those who know me, I've done a lot of research and work on this idea of we're not great at getting into our best companies, like as an ecosystem, right? Like, amazing that IW was able to get in, but now you guys are thinking seed stage, right? And so that's probably like a couple million that you're thinking about raising. That you guys are thinking about moving, at least starting ColdStart and SF. Makes sense. Makes sense. How has this race process been on your end? I know IW is great, but how has generally like beyond that been in being in Pittsburgh, being a rocket?
So we are talking to some VCs here in Pittsburgh, and they've been great. And they might even lead the round. I can't speak too much. I can only again, so much you can say. Hopefully we have like a really cool announcement coming up here soon. But in terms of like the VCs out here, they've been great. Perfect. I mean, they were great with Binder too.
I will say fundraising's been a lot easier with ColdStart than Binder, but it's because the revenue's higher. You know, that it's growing quicker. It's more of a new sexy thing.
It's B2B SaaS AI.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's B2B SaaS AI.
But it's generating significant revenue too.
Yes,
and that's
quick.
That's a big part of it. I mean, when you can hit $1 million of revenue in a couple months, I mean, that's crazy. When you can, and you have a clear pathway to 10 million and a clear pathway to 20 million just with inbound leads, I mean, it makes it easier for us to do these things. Binder had those things, but it also it was a different model. You're a consumer, so you have thousands of customers paying you $20 a month versus having like maybe 10 customers paying $10,000 a month or something like that. So it's an easier business model to scale. And that was, I mean, it's hard for us to accept. Like we've had some tears over this. Like I'll say this, and the reason why like I love both companies. ColdStart has had these moments, like these amazing moments where it's like you're just like going higher and higher and higher, and then every time you go through, it's like more reasons to say yes, more reasons that are amazing on this company. But I mean, Bindr has had such an emotional impact on the community, and ColdStart may very well be what funds Bindr to still have that impact, even if we're less involved with it. And that's, I think, really special because it goes back to what Bindr's product market fit is, and that is.
You were there at the
community support.
Uprise event, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I put my heart and soul into those pitches.
Yeah.
Yep.
I put everything into talking about Bindr because I really do believe in the community. I'm part of it. I want to make this safer place. I have a lot of long life-term goals for helping queer people. So that's why he's saying, you know, it's kind of sad when we are focusing on what's going to make the money right now. We're still focusing on Bindr, but we're going full force into ColdStart. But we're doing what we have to. We're going to help 100 companies instead of just a small amount of the community. We're going to help tons more people and be able to make the money to actually do that in a significant way and make a significant difference rather than just making a dating app. Because it's amazing to give them this safe space to be, but when you can actually put your money where your mouth is,
put more resources into that eventually.
Put your resources. One of the investors, potential investors that we might be taking on for ColdStart, said it too. They said, you guys are doing what you have to make your dreams come true in the long run. Like, we understand why you chose this focus. Like, you still care about the community. That's clear, that's evident, but you're doing what you have to and really focusing on, you know, our gold mine so that we can do more in the long run.
Yeah, and the truth is that VC in particular, they come on board. They can maybe come on with some other VCs. That's just how it works with a round. But they come on, and their money helps us, and then we get to say the 10 million ARR point quicker in a few months. And then we get into hundreds of millions of dollars, and then they get a kickback from that. That's the idea, is 1,000x return on a company. And ColdStart has that potential to quickly and easily do that with a business model that makes sense. So if we do that for them, we know that we have funded at least 100 other queer companies.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. While we can't say exactly what ones we're working with, we can say we're working with a Pittsburgh one. We're working with one that's queer focused, and we're helping to give back. We want to return their funds so that we can help give back to the local community and give back to the queer community that we care so much about. So that's why we're being
recycling.
We're being strategic with our investors just as much as our customers, because we want the success of ColdStart to be the success of everybody involved in it.
Yeah, and I know like people sometimes have a negative look at VCs, but I have a different perspective to it, having helped VCs with some like technical due diligence and also been on the other side of even board reviews. There's a lot of stuff that goes into doing these things, and when you're involved at that level and you see it, then you really understand it's like innovation that can change the world.
Rare.
It's rare, and there's a lot of people that reach out that need money at the moment, and I understand that too. So even for us, it's competitive, and we're not like nothing's a sure thing, first of all. But regardless of like VC funding or not, I mean, if you're going into the mindset of you can give that VC back 1,000 times what they invested, and you have a clear way to do it. And it's not just like, I hope to do this, but I have a clear plan on how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And you can offer that certainty. Then you can fund 100 more companies here in Pittsburgh. You can fund 100 more companies that are queer focused. You can fund things beyond just yourself, and then that's how you really create like I don't know how to put it, but like wealth beyond yourself and even your own company. And that's a really, really cool aspect of it. So I think VCs are good for that, because VCs are the kind of like the mechanism to be able to do that.
My friend sent me a Ratatouille quote. the other month, it was something like the role of the critic isn't just to like critique, but like to protect, like a great critic, right, protects the things that the public might not get from the start, right? So when you're like, oh, like I went to see that show no one else saw yet, I gave it a 10 out of 10 review, and my opinion's respected. Like that's a little bit the Keith Lee, right? Like that kind of that role that the critic plays. And I think a great VC, that's their job, right? Like it's not just what's popular or what's great or what's cool, but like who are the people just doing the things in the dark room that are one day going to change the world, one day going to make people's lives easier.
On the way here, we were on the phone with one of our advisors that said that too. They said, even if you don't need the cash capital, like even if you can do it with just revenue, getting a really good reputable VC with a strong name behind you is going to help so much. It's going to help other people want to invest in you. It's going to help your customers trust you, and really, like you said, just be that that protector and that bit of trust that could help push us over the edge.
It might have been the Notion founders, I think, that they were like, yeah, we didn't need we didn't need VC money, but it was like at a certain point for like Series A or whatever, they were like, yeah, like we're just gonna go to a tier 1 firm for hiring, right? It's because it was a big like badge of honor for some of the talent that they wanted to attract, to be like, oh cool, like you had maybe General Catalyst or something like that backing you, versus like, random or just no VC backing. A little bit of like this blanket of security as you get, you need more talent because you grow so fast. Is that kind of a little bit of the reason behind the SF move or the SF start?
Yeah, talent. So we actually have some employees out of San Francisco already. And the team that is out in San Francisco, I mean, it's good to have a diversified team because like you want people on the East Coast and the West Coast. It gives you more exposure, allows people to get to events easier, allows things to happen that if you're in one area, it's going to be a bit hard, especially at a company like ours. I mean, ours is very result driven. We aren't doing cold calls or anything like that. We'll get into that. But like, since we have so much inbound momentum with this, there's no point in doing that. And every time we go out and do something, it's accidental growth. Like the first time I had somebody that wanted
how the
to buy...
company started.
Accidental.
Yeah, it's been... So I actually made a post on the Y Combinator Reddit thread, and I said, I made an accidental company, and I talked about getting like 250K ARR in our first week. And I was like, okay, here's what we did, here's how we did it. And they're like, everyone's like, you hit the jackpot twice. And then it got shared, I think, 600 times. And then the analytics on this post was...
more people viewed it than are in the YC Reddit thread.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it had more views than the actual YC Reddit thread. Something like 140,000 views or something. And for a niche like Reddit thread, that's pretty good. And I think it was like one of the most popular ones of the year. And it had I had more messages in my inbox than I did comments on the thread.
We had our demo calls booked up for like 3 weeks straight of people saying, I got this off Reddit and talked to Brandon and I need to know what's going on. And we have made sales that way.
I had companies, that's why I first started getting the Y Combinator companies reaching out. Like they wanted this service. They actually were more interested in using this than even some of the other Y Combinator companies that were going through the batches. And I saw like a weird shift where it was like people were talking about my product and defending it to even naysayers. I was surprised by it because they're like, well, what about this? Like, what like if this could be an issue? And then there were things that we figured out and how to do it. I'd be like, no, they did it this way, and this is why it's working. It's a really good product for
or
that
like
reason.
Backing Bindr, because someone said that Bindr is brand new and doesn't have any users, and they said, I don't know what company you're looking at, but look here, I pulled these straight from the
Google,
web. These are Bindr's numbers, and I'm like, we didn't even get a chance to say anything. Like there's other people defending us, so that was kind of cool to see that, and it really caught fire quick.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like we have the users coming in a way that doesn't happen. I think Bindr's getting right now close to 1,500 organic users. Yeah. I mean, we're not paying for any ads at the moment. Yeah, that's a day. Yeah, sorry. I should clarify.
I figured, but that's a day.
Nice clarification. Yeah, daily new users coming onto the platform, and not having to pay for that is kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
And I know there's other companies getting more than us. I mean, I'm not naive. Like,
but with no, like, you guys aren't, you know, like, I don't know, like LinkedIn. I don't know how many.
He has more LinkedIn followers than me, that's for sure. But I'm getting up there.
I don't know. You might have more. You have quite a bit of people on your LinkedIn. Yeah. She gets bombarded on LinkedIn like crazy.
And honestly, like, I'm neurodivergent, and some things just, like, sometimes overwhelm me. So I will say, if anyone tries to reach out on LinkedIn, double message me. Don't be afraid to, because sometimes I'll look and my inbox will just be full. Yeah. And I'm just like, this is too much. Close the tab. I go somewhere else. And I try not to do that because it's so important, and I want to be in the community, in the startup community. I want to talk to all these people, but sometimes to be honest, it can be a bit overwhelming. But that's why sometimes when I get those double messages and it pops back to the top, I'm like, oh, I'm glad they did that, because you know, sometimes it's easy to get pushed down when I'm getting, you know,
hundreds.
Hundreds. I'm getting hundreds of connections a day sometimes. And hey, I saw you at TechCrunch. I saw you at Web Summit, or from Brandon's LinkedIn, or, you know,
that was crazy. So, like, I had the Reddit post, and, like, people started diving into the companies and, like, figuring out, like, what was what. So, like, people were searching for it, and then I saw, like, people were searching, like, ColdStart Brandon Teller was, like, trending even on Google for a while, because they were trying to figure out, like, if we didn't have a website up. We didn't do an official release when I did this. I was testing the waters for TechCrunch. I thought 3 or 4 people might care.
Yeah.
I didn't really think that it was going to be anything crazy, but like, no, a lot of people cared. A lot of people thought it was really interesting, and I guess it was interesting. When you're in the thick of things and yourself and you're doing things, it's like, is this interesting, or is this just something I think is cool?
Yeah.
And then
it's that constant, like, doubt.
Not doubt, but, like, it's just kind of like perspective. Like, I don't know. Like, we're focused on our company, so I don't know if like we hit it off well. I think we did. I was like, okay.
It's easy to combat the imposter syndrome a bit when you have so much work to do, is what I found. Especially, like, the first year of Bindr, this before ColdStart, but while I was doing Bindr, I was also finishing my degree, and I was constantly having so much work. And you don't really have time to doubt yourself, I found, when you're working so much, where I'm like, can I do this? And I'm like, well, I don't have a choice. You know, that helped me a lot. And I like to say, just do the damn thing. Because if you sit there and wonder if you're good enough, or if you're qualified enough, or if your company really is this or that. And I understand imposter syndrome's a big thing, especially for women in tech, and like, you know, different types of people that aren't the typical straight white man. I found just having just doing it and having
too many problems to have.
Having so much work actually helped me. Like, I was doing better in my classes when I had more work through Bindr. I was doing better with my Bindr work. And same thing now with ColdStart. Even though ColdStart's my main priority, it's so much. I'm bringing on I'm bringing on so many employees. I'm bringing on the salespeople. I'm helping. It's easier to combat that when you don't have an option to fail, and you don't have the option to doubt yourself, because you just have to do it.
On that point of, your problems are right now probably 0.001% of founders in this idea of, like, our goal, like, we're doubling our employee count. I don't know, in a month or whatever.
Real problems.
Yeah, like, how are you doing this, right? Like, how are you, like, maintaining some of the culture that they're taking from Bindr, like, having worked over
I think this is I'd love to answer this, like, in a way that makes sense. So in November we had the problem of, like, okay, we got to get people out to events. So I called up some people. I was like, hey, we got to do these things, and Mary and I can't handle it on our own. So we did that, and then we're hiring developers and DevOps and all this stuff in October, because, like, we're bringing on people. And we had some team, we had people already there. So, like, we had our, like, small team kind of get a little bigger in November. And then in December, I, like, really sat down and I was like, where are all these problems that we have? And then what are we raising for? Like, who do we need to hire? So I went through and I put together a hiring plan. I was like, oh, I actually have a lot of this figured out. And then I was like, I don't have a direct CTO. was that by the end of December, that's what I didn't have. And then I've been talking to this guy for a while. He specializes in AI and SEO and specifically in content distribution. And he recognized right away that this was like the rocket ship he wanted to be on. And so we had a little bit of a rapport going, and I was like, well, this might be the guy. And we talked about it some more, and now we're finalizing that agreement. And now that thing figured itself out. So it wasn't like we were like, hey, we have to hire all these people because we need to hire all these people and it like looks good for the company. It was more like, hey, we're having these problems and we're going through our list of contacts in our network and saying, can this person really help us with this? And they're like, yeah, I think they really can. Even one of our employees over the summer, we had him in a role that wasn't quite working out. And I spoke to him earlier this week and I was like, hey, I actually think I have the right role for you now. So understanding like where people are going to be successful.
We had two of those actually. We had two people that were in roles that we thought were good, ended up not being the best roles for them. With Bindr, pivot to now working for ColdStart, and
they're thriving.
It worked. Yeah, they're thriving. It works so much better. They're happier. We're happier. The company's working better. We did sit down,
and we had to self-reflect a lot too, because you have to realize that it was easy to blame other people for like why things weren't working out or why these smart people in these positions weren't
doing what you thought they could.
Really, it was on us. I mean, like maybe we're stressed out because we had a really big high here, and then the team would see that, and then it was kind of a low point the week after, because like it's a roller coaster ride in startups, and if you're not, you have to find ways to not project that, and that's how you keep culture alive, and then like let the high points stay high points because there's always going to be low points too. And if you can persevere through that, I mean, you can like build any business and make it amazing.
We do keep a lot of the culture from Bindr through ColdStart, though. Yeah. We very much recognize that like the people are first. Yeah. We give discounts to queer companies. Yeah. We have a lot of diversity on our team. We have people of color. We have women. We have queer folks all on our team. We picked those people because they were the best people for the roles. Yep. But it was great to have like this diversity on the team and to have all these different perspectives and make sure that we're keeping women in power and we're also diversifying with lots of different backgrounds. Yeah. We also do a lot of fun stuff for our team when we do these events. We do roller coaster trips. We do amusement parks.
We have a reputation for amusement park trips. So if you like amusement parks, I submit an application and I put that in your application.
You'll probably get hired if you say that.
Your favorite roller coaster at the top of the email that you send if you want a job at ColdStart, and I promise you'll at least get an email back.
Yeah. But every trip that we were doing, because we were doing a lot, going different countries, we were going to San Francisco, doing all these big conferences. We did TechCrunch, we did so many, and working our butts off. We did Collision in Toronto and did Queer Tech Conference, but we made sure to have fun. Brandon has a great travel agent that can get us discounts, so we opt for nicer hotel rooms to make sure our team is more comfortable. Stuff like that, like the little things we can do just to help the team feel a little better and not pinching pennies everywhere, but still getting the most out of them and doing this wisely. And it makes more money in the long run. If your team's happy, they're going to close 10x amount of contracts, with also maintaining this idea of like this, not even idea, the real thing that we care about the people on our team. Like Brandon said, a lot of them are people we've known for a long time. Some of them we met just this past year and just had a real connection. But some of our really main core players are
you've seen them around,
people we've been friends with for a long time, and that we gave them a chance in the business world and really got to see them shine. Like it was an amazing thing when we saw Becca come out to their first Pride with us, and Brandon say, "You are amazing. Like you are the most personable people person that I've ever seen in my life." And they said, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. And Brandon's like, you need to work with us if you want to. Like, we'll find the right role for you. Like, and then Becca was able to come more into her personality and her gender identity through Bindr and is now thriving at ColdStart and coming together with, she made the demo. She's helping with the sales team. She's going out to all these different events. And from seeing someone that I've known my whole life now really like step into their power with a company we've been able to create helps our culture, and it is very powerful, and it you can see their power coming through, and more people being able to feel safe to express themselves with us, but also like that drive to work hard and make money and believe in themselves.
That seems so rewarding for you.
People have tried to scope out Becca from us. I mean, but I know that she sees what we're doing. Yeah. And so she believes in the vision one, but I mean, more importantly, she believes in us, and having that kind of trust with your team and knowing that, like, okay, they're not going to just jump ship because somebody's offering them a lot of money right now.
People were trying to poach them at TechCrunch, saying that's a closer, because they were going around doing sales for us, and she's like, I'm ColdStart all the way. Like, this is my team.
ColdStart.
Yeah, I love these people. Yeah.
She got to go to like the parties and like do all of like the fun stuff, and like she's rubbing shoulders with some powerful people,
some big investors that have had giant acquisitions offering her the world to come for them, and she's like, "You gonna invest in ColdStart?"
It's like, are you gonna invest? And actually, it worked.
Yeah,
I mean, so like all of these.
I mean, there's no stronger pitch.
Yeah, we have a network of investors too, just out in the Bay Area that like want to get involved in this. It's fun, like as we get our like initial seed round closed out. I mean, there's already some discussions like, hey, we might be able to overextend it, and then if we generate more revenue, then we can change valuation, so we give better terms to people that come in early. And that's what's exciting about it, is that we have so many avenues in everything that we're doing that if we fail, it honestly comes down to us. Like that, and that kind of pressure can feel crushing to a founder, but it's so exciting because, I mean, I was just going through the contracts we have like out for signature right now, and like our goals that we need to hit are doubled by just getting the ones signed that we're already negotiating on. And it's just because there's a good quantity there, and there are a good mix of companies, and there are a good mix of things that we're doing. And I think in every case we're saving them money. So all of them have SEO agencies are paying probably 4 or 5 times what they're going to pay us for a fraction of the results. All of them have like these other things they're paying for that aren't working as well. So us being able to come in and say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do it better. This is how we do it. This is the results. It's really powerful. And I'm just really excited for what the future holds for this, because everything just seems amazing. And I think the sentiment that I have to leave like for any founder out there is, don't be blinded by yourself. And if it feels too big, you're probably not even thinking big enough.
And it's okay to have a freak out or a breakdown once in a while.
Yeah.
Brandon probably does it once in a while. I do too. Like the other day we had the call with the soon to be CTO, and at the end of the call I was like overwhelmed, and I was feeling it. But I was just so excited about it that I'm like, is this really happening? Like, this feels too much. Like, I feel like I'm gonna throw up, is what I say when I'm feeling too much. And I was like, Brandon, I'm gonna throw up. This is too much. And he's like, what do you mean? But it's okay to have those moments as long as you collect yourself at the end of it and you're like, no, I'm just really excited about this. We just have to put the hard work in, and we can do it. And so can anybody out there, really.
Yeah, she was beating herself up because
I don't have as much experience.
We're doing more technical stuff, and we're deep diving into things, and we're going over and she's like, I just feel like I'm out of my depth a bit here with it. But that's the point. Like, the CTO is supposed to be in a different swimming pool than the COO.
I'm like, I can write Python a little bit, like, you know what I mean? And that's what he said too. He's like, it's okay to feel overwhelmed when we're all talking these deep technical things. That's not your job. What I wanted from you, Mary, is to know, what's the vibe you picked up from him? Do you like him? Do you think he's going to do good in this role? I'm like, I love him.
Yeah.
Like, and I said, I just felt like, which it makes me super excited, but I'm like, everybody on our team is so damn smart. Everyone's so smart, so driven, and we're just building something that, like, you watch it, it's gonna be intense.
I'm watching.
Yeah. and every it's going to be interesting too, and how it changes things, because with this team behind it, like, and the tech of like we're in the stone age of like that's what's so cool about it. It's like it's so at the beginning stages, like we've done some really cool stuff, but we're in the stone age. And like mark my words, like in a year from now, it's gonna be over every magazine you can think of, and everybody's going to be talking about it because it's going to change and define the standard of like how you get anything out there. I don't even mean products. I think in just like generalized like how the web is working, because and that's where I was saying like laws are going to be introduced with this, because it's going to become a new standard. In the same way that when Google came out, set a new standard for search engines and how people find websites. This is going to be that kind of thing, and that's what we're shooting for, and always what we're building.
As a result, you guys are going to be the belle of the ball. You guys are going to be, you already are, right? Like people are already knocking on your doors, sliding into your LinkedIn DMs, shooting cold emails,
random text messages,
text. Hey, we haven't talked in 10 years.
How did you get this phone number? Not even that. It's like, how did you get this phone number? And there's some really big names. I mean, incredibly big names. I wish I could say more. Like I mean, I'm NDA'd in my own company.
I mean, we'll see in like a month.
But there's gonna be press releases about this over the next 6 months, and like the stuff that we're doing right now is really exciting because we're able to prove revenue, we're able to prove different things. But in the stuff that we do in the next 6 months, it's going to be game changing. Like just in the partnership side of things, of other companies that are changing the world. So
my question then is for everyone listening, and also for yourselves, like who are the types of people that you think work best with, you know, as customers, investors, future employees, right? Like who are the type that, on that culture question, like who fits best with ColdStart? I
got to be careful. So I'm going to name people that we're not working with. So that's probably, so we're a driver for content on the ChatGPT. So that would be a potential one. Yeah. We're talking to other companies in the space. Amazon would be another big one. Walmart. I mean, big ones that are
dual-sided marketplace would do amazing.
Yeah,
we've seen a lot of that on like coming to us where we can target both sides of their customers. Would be a great customer for ColdStart.
Yeah. So like dual-sided marketplaces struggle right now because they didn't struggle 10 years ago, but now they do to get to market. Because even if you have a good idea, I mean, it's so incredibly hard to
get that
not just get one customer set, but getting the second customer set. So now for virtually the same price, you can get both.
As far as employees, we're looking for people who can look at problems and solve problems in a different way than we do, that can identify those problems before we even see that they're there.
Yep.
So people who are thinking outside the box, who are really go-getters and are willing to put the work in for the big reward. And we're looking for some more diversity, some more different type of thinkers on our team. Not everybody who's had the same life story, the same upbringing. We want, because to have that, what I said first, people that look at problems differently, you need people who've lived different lives. So we want really smart and driven people who have that life experience, that can put the hard work in and really believe in this and see the same vision that we're pitching, and actually believe that this is all possible, and not just, they sat here and rambled for an hour about how great they are, but actually see the vision underneath it of what we're really trying to do.
Yeah. So I think everybody that we've brought onto the team in one way or another has saw the product in a different use case than we had originally saw it. And I think that's where the versatility comes in with something like this. It's like when you can take the core concept of something that you've created, and somebody else that's really smart can come in and be like, hey, I actually want to use it for this. Yeah. And they'd be like, hey, I also have like customers for this, and I want to do those are the people we're looking for. Or have you thought about this end world scenario? I'm like, well, no, actually I hadn't. And then I'm like, like I had a mental breakdown. And that was my only mental breakdown in the company. I was like, oh, wow, this could like be really bad.
That was Jordan, right?
No, that was Kardaki was the
Oh,
one
yeah.
that did that. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, this could be really bad. And then I started talking to some friends about that end world scenario.
Yeah.
The evil cold start
Yeah.
to do too, then how we can prevent
the
that.
bad
Oh my
side of it.
god.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like, holy crap, like you could like really hurt things.
Like anything, like any tool.
You
Well,
could hurt
even
any- I don't want to go into details because I don't want to talk about like the
Yeah.
possibility of it.
any mass content distribution
Yeah.
could be abused.
Facebook, and
Yeah,
same with-
like you
yeah,
could
say
put
social
as
media.
much info that's false out there. If you put it out and people read it enough, you see it with the older generation believing
Yeah.
everything they read on Facebook.
Yeah.
Similar to that. You
Younger
could-
generation believe
Yeah.
anything they see on TikTok.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Yes.
and that's
the
where I
thing.
want to cut off that conversation because I don't want to talk about how we do things because it's not good things to be out there.
We're completely ethical.
Yeah.
We do everything.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do anything, but that's what we're saying. Having people who look and can see those issues and see the different ways that it could be used, it's valuable just to understand our tech in a different way and to understand what could happen if it did fall in the wrong hands, which wouldn't happen. But, like that type of thing is what we're looking for. What about investors? That's the other part he asked for. What's your ideal investor for ColdStart?
My ideal investor is one that, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like one that can actually see the big vision. Of course, like we have like monetary incentives with this, but if we can redefine the web and redefine technology as we know it, I mean, then we can be the next Google.
Yeah.
And that's the idea. It's like we don't want to be just like a content distribution and marketing. Like we want to be able to. My friend likes to say this. He puts it like the kingmakers, like deciding what big companies do and do not succeed is a really, really big part of this new technology that is coming out now.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I like ending on that. I like
Yeah.
ending on that. That's really good.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for taking the time. I foresee that this is gonna blow up as you guys blow up. So this is a really
Hopefully.
nice
I
second
mean-
episode.
Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like this caveat: nothing's ever certain. But when you have
Especially in
a
startups.
great team and you have things that like, and you have enough data points to know that like it's working, it does change a lot of things for everybody. So.
And we're gonna put our all into this, and if anything would to be to fail, it wouldn't be for lack for trying. That's what I'm saying, because we're putting our all into
It's not
this.
gonna be because you didn't try.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot would have to go wrong for it to fail, but
We're doing the damn thing, and we're working hard on it. So
yeah, we're very, very excited and optimistic and enthusiastic.
thank you for having us here today, Charles.
Well, I guess that's all.